You're most welcome back to another edition of Matchbook's US Golf Specials, where we focus on all things tournament matchups, the game within the game. We're not here to pick outright winners. These guys occasionally do, of course, on their own channels, but we're here to bet matchups. And speaking of matchups, I'm joined by two guys that live and breed golf matchups every week, and we've got 100 plus at matchbook.com. Director of content with BetSports, Mr. Andy Molitor. He's absolutely loving the Euro, picking winners left, right, and center. James Mazzola, who is the co-host of the For Profit podcast. He's also picking winners at the Euros, but I'm glad somebody is, because I can't pick a winner. It's been a tough tournament. Anyway, that's the Euros. Back to the golf last week. Gents, US Open. I actually missed my cue during the show last week to actually ask you guys what your best bets were. Well, you guys plugged it on your own social channels anyway. We kind of knew what they were. JD, you love that one. Cupcake to beat Schauffele at 2.27. That was the top of the leaderboard one. But Andy, I got to come to you first, mate. Your one was done by Friday. Abram Answer, +8. Should not win any matchup, but it did. Lovely.
Quite handily.
Yes.
Every time you'd see Justin Rose's name, it's another double. There we go.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Not get it done.
Absolutely beautiful. JD, what was the tournament like for you in general, mate? A great finish on Sunday night as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we knew Rahm was going to get one sooner or later. It was only a matter of time. Sure. He definitely won it. I mean, when you make those two birdies on 17, 18, you can't say that everyone else gave it away, because he took it from a bunch of guys who just basically melted down. When you see guys like Rory, Bryson, and Brooks not being able to close, a guy like Rahm can make a couple birdies and take it home. So it was entertaining, fun, a little down for me profit-wise, but ultimately I had a good time watching it.
All right, West Coast to East Coast this weekend. You know what, guys? Normally after a major, it's a bit of a down event. This is a good field, a really good field. And we're going up to Connecticut and to the TPC River Highlands. JD, give us a kind of an overview of what we should expect this week.
Yeah, it's going to be exactly the opposite of what we saw last week, right? So instead of long, high rough and difficult driver off every tee, we're going to see a short par 70, plays about 6,800 yards, completely wide open fairways. You're going to be able to hit these things with irons and hybrids. DJ en route to a victory, basically hit hybrid on every single tee. Poe greens, more bent though. East Coast Poe is not the same as West Coast. Don't even think of it as the same kind of grass. It's just mostly bent grass. So it basically turns into everyone hits in the middle of the fairway, and it's an iron fest from there. Probably some low scores. There has been some rain, so they're saying the rough might be a little higher than years past, but ultimately it seems pretty scoreable, although there's some wind on the weekend. So we'll see what happens and see whether or not that comes.
Gotta love that Atlantic Ocean. Gotta love it. Absolutely. We've got plenty of it here. JD, kick us off. Last year's champs, he touched on there, Dustin Johnson, to beat Patrick Cantlay, 2.05 plus 105. What's the case here?
Yeah, there's just been no point in Cantlay's career where he's a better player than Dustin Johnson. So, I make the number this completely opposite. I don't know if they're looking for some kind of after the U.S. Open lull. He played halfway decent, a terrible final round, but ultimately he's been playing well. He got 10th at the Palmetto, basically gain strokes across the board at the U.S. Open, lost like 0.1 around the greens, whatever. It's not a big deal. And then you have a guy in Cantlay who his ball striking just hasn't been that consistent. This course obviously sets up very well for both these guys. They're going to be accurate. They're going to be in the fairway. DJ's just a better all-around ball striker right now. And Cantlay doesn't show anything more around the green. So, again, this is a guy who and Dustin Johnson, who has always been better than Cantlay. So why isn't he favored that right now? This is one that I don't get.
All right, 2.05. I like it. Good odds against start the show. Good man, JD. Love to see that. Andy, Cam Smith to beat Bubba Watson. I'm thinking Cam Smith's a kind of tough couple of weeks. Is this much a fade on Bubba as much as anything?
A little bit. I do weight shorter course form a little higher than long term, and that's what made this. Even though I did that, this jumped out as well because of that. Like, hey, I'm waiting short term form, and Cam Smith, I still have him as a play on Bubba, so I dug in a little more here. Yeah, not the best form, 2 missed cuts, a 59th at the PGA. And then I looked real quick and I said, well, he's playing better on easier tracks before that. And then I took a second look. I'm like, oh, those weren't easier tracks. The Masters was in there. The Players was in there. Like, he had 5 straight top 20s in a decent stretch there. He was playing well. I dug around. I can't figure out exactly why he had some bad luck there. Just, a little down spot on an overall decent form for the year here. And Bubba, again, so I don't want to say I upweighted putting a ton. It's just putting went up in general because I downweighted some off the tee stuff. Like just you have 100% of a pie, and putting's going to go up when I downweight some other stuff. So I downweighted putting, and his putting has been bad. Or excuse me, I upweighted putting just vis-a-vis how I did it. His putting has been bad, and it's still I'm still waiting. I'm still looking at his approach stuff, and it's just been cold. Like you look at the 50-round sample for it, and it's like, oh, he's a decent approach player. But then you look shorter, 24-12, shorter than that. Even just the last few weeks, it's like, yeah, your approach game has just been garbage. If you're going to putt that bad, just overall, even if as much as we say it's not super predictive, if your approach game is going to be super rough and you're going to be near the bottom of the field here, it's going to be a struggle for me. So, and again, we're looking at guys. Bubba's not, a top 10 driver anymore. He's not a big, I think there's just too many other guys that can hit the piss out of the ball now. He's still, he's still a big hitter. He's still a top 50 guy. He still hits over tour average off the tee. But like JD said in the tour or the preview for the course, it's kind of a weird thing. You're playing on like, what is it, 6,800? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a short course. You'd have to see some guys like, well, yeah, you can do it with your driver. What are you going to do? You got a 2-iron in the bag? You going to hit some hybrids off these tees? Like, what are we doing here on these short ones? So I am kind of looking at some of these bombers and taking them down a notch. So Cam, probably an average guy off the tee, but I'm not really worried about that because of the second shot stuff. Like if you look at where they're landing with their second shots and what they're doing with it, Cam's approach game is much, much better here. So yeah, taking him as a slight favorite here, even though he's played poorly for a couple weeks. Bubba's form hasn't been great either.
All right. Good case made there. JD, Ricky Fowler, is so unusual not to see Ricky at the US Open in his home state last week. So he's going to be plenty rested and newborn on the way as well, of course. He's 1.97 to beat Adam Scott. And let's be honest about it, when we first started recording these back in February, we were opposing Ricky Fowler every week, but his form has turned in the last few weeks.
Yeah, and I think we hit the bottom of the market with them a couple weeks ago as well. So, that's the thing. I'm getting off guys. I don't care. Their name doesn't matter to me, right? What matters is how they're playing and what their form is. 8th at the PGA, 11th at Memorial. That's a really good stuff against some really good fields for Ricky. I'm not much on the motivational angle, but, if you want to take that one, not playing in the U.S. Open for the first time in when was the last time he didn't play 10, 12 years ago?
It's good. That's got to hurt. It's got to hurt.
It's got to be something for him, right? Obviously newborn dad, so maybe he has a little baby swag going, or newly expecting dad, so he's got a little baby swag going or something. But no, let's just take all that away. Gaining strokes on approach, and more importantly, when Ricky was at his best, he was one of the most consistent and best putters on tour. Over that PGA and Memorial, over 8 strokes gained combined. Putting, and obviously his around the green game has always been good. So we're just seeing a little bit of form from him, and I think I want to go ahead and grab it before the market takes over, kind of like what we saw with Spieth this year, and they actually start getting after him. But when we go to Adam Scott, his ball striking is absolutely all over the place, which is just wild to me. The guy that I've been fading for a long time because it seems like people still think he can hit the ball, and he just can't. Like it's all over the place. He's making it up with putting, so he's making cuts by gaining 3 to 4 strokes on the greens per week. Again, if he's going to putt like that, that's fine. Like I'm cool with that. But I think Ricky can get it done, obviously, with the ball striking, and he's putting just as well as Scott has been over the last month. So just a form play on Ricky. Want to buy him at the bottom. More importantly, Scott just hasn't shown me anything ball striking wise.
Yeah, he's totally flipped it. Remember back when he was losing it on the green rather than the other way around, and he had a beautiful swing. Andy, Ian Poulter beat Kevin Na. And we're speaking of recent good form. Poulter's in good form late. He's a short price here, though, 1.74.
Yeah, I almost turned around when I saw this price, but I still liked it enough. Poulter's, and better. His short-term form in every aspect of his game is better than Kevin Na right now. And I look it up down. I think that's why I was able to still convince myself to bet this at 1.74. And God, you speak about some putting lights. His putting has been just lights out, and I wonder at a certain point, it's like, all right, a guy had like one good round or one good tournament where he putted really well. When you have like a few in a row like this, like, are you just seeing the greens that well? Is your caddy doing something? Like what's happening? Because he's making everything. That Sunday about a month ago where he sunk like 900 feet where the putts on, and just the back there, it was some amazing looks. And so, I don't like to use putting as a super predictive thing, but if you're going to putt lights out, it's not going to hurt. I'm certainly not going to hurt, especially when you're a better ball striker. His short term off the tee and approach, just ball striking in general is better. These guys are both shorter off the tee, But when you get down to the accuracy, Poult's much better there. And again, we'll keep going back to this when James talks about this. When you're using different clubs off the tee because of the length of the course, and you have a guy who can do it with his driver, keep it accurate, even if he's a little short, you give him an even more accurate club when you're, going down to a 3 or a hybrid, or even, some of these guys that are very accurate off the tee already. If you give them a more accurate club because it's a shorter course, I just feel like that's going to get even better. That's the case here for Mr. Poulter. He has been better in fairways gained, good drives gained, all the other metrics I'm using for just accuracy off the tee. And again, he's better at approach as well. So if he's going to get better off the tee and his approach game's already better, I'm fine with that. The only knock on him would be he's never played well here. I don't love to look at this because I don't think it's super predictable. There are guys who play well year after year and year, and sometimes I think there's something to that. He's never had a great finish here, but I don't know if he's ever come in with this form. So Poulter laying a little bit of a price here, but yeah, Kevin Na is a guy I faded last week too. I'm happy to keep that train rolling.
All right, and JD, speaking of guys who haven't played that well here before, Rodgers Sloan has played there 3 times, only made the cut once. But again, look, to Andy's point, sometimes you just have to block out that noise. And he's playing Bryce Garnett in this matchup, and he's 1.95. Fade on Garnett as well, I'm thinking.
Yeah, and these are guys that are going to be right around the cut line come Friday, so we might be able to split this one out down the stretch there. The thing with Garnett, he has a couple of good performances at the end of February and early March that are boosting up his long-term form in my numbers. Previous to that, or excuse me, more recently, he just hasn't really got it done. We got a guy in Sloan who has made 6 of his last 8 cuts. Really doesn't do much once he makes the cut. We're looking at 30s and 40s, but making the cut in a tournament like this, it's probably going to get it done against a guy in Garnett who his ball striking numbers are just terrible right now. I just make him a lot bigger favorite than this. And Sloan's a guy that I have been backing lately. And, coming in, and again, all you have to do is make that cut, right? And 6 of 8, I like that consistency. And again, and throughout the whole season, really, he's only missed, I think, 4 cuts in 2021. And again, if you take out that late or early season stuff from Garnett, you're just really getting a player who hasn't really done much. So I just a little value here. I just make Sloan the favorite, a little higher favorite than this, like about 120, 125. So went ahead and took the edge with this one.
Yeah, you found your edge and good man to take it. Andy, Leboida to beat Wyndham Clark at 1.81. What is the case here? Is this one that's going to be up by Friday as well?
Yeah, I think my next 2 might be. And truthfully, Hammer and Hank is a guy I've backed a little bit lately too. I think somebody, a college golfer reached out to me. He swears it's Leboida. I don't know. I'll trust him on that. I don't know. Some of these pronunciations down the board get me, but Wyndham Clark is a name you've probably seen a few times on that side of the board for me. He's a guy I've faded against, and truthfully, I was excited to see Hank on the other side of this Clark matchup. Clark's a guy I've faded a few times over the past few months, and again, he is a bomber. He's a true bomber. He's got to be, I'm sure he's top 5 if you go look. He probably drives at 310, 315 on average. Not what I'm looking for at this course at all, especially for a guy with approach numbers that are just horseshit. Again, if you're going to have drives like that and do nothing with it, you're not going to fit. You're not going to make the cut. You're not going to do well here. So again, a bomber I'm fading here. And yeah, this was another one where I believe it was against Vaughn Taylor. I took Leboida at Palmetto. It was another one where it's just I kind of like Leboida, but it's more of a fading the other guy just because I think he kind of stinks. And then I dug a little more into Hank, and he was pretty good. He never threatened the lead. He just had a nice overall weekend. Looks like a lot of his results are just that consistent. I'm not going to have a blow up round. He had a nice 67 on Sunday to reward me. Hopefully we can just get nice, consistent play from a guy he's played consistently. I don't want to say good because he's not. I don't think he's going to win this tournament, but consistently decent golf against a guy I think that definitely could flame out here. So, and yeah, like I said, Hank is a guy I'm probably going to look at some top 30 and 40 markets as well. He's a guy who I will be backing over the course of these next 3 weeks when we get into these lesser tournaments before we come your way.
Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, I almost forgot about that. Yeah. It's not long since you guys will be focusing on this side of the Atlantic. That'll be good for you guys. That'll be good. Start worrying about the links courses.
Scottish might have better fields.
There you go. Exactly, yeah. JD, Scott Piercy to beat Patrick Rodgers. He's a underdog in this one, 2.03. Surprised by that?
Yeah, very surprised by this. When I'm looking at these full tournament matchups, especially, I like guys who have some kind of consistency in their games that you can see over the course of, at least the last month or two. And when we look at Piercy, and this is the way he's been his entire career, he is going to gain strokes on approach. And he's just a very, very good iron player. And he's been like that forever. Now, what he sucks at is putting. It's not overly fun to watch him putt. He just doesn't. He's never really looked comfortable at it. But again, if we're going to have just an iron contest where everyone's going to be in the same spots on the fairways, and it's just up to who can hit the most greens and obviously give themselves the most birdie opportunities, Piercy's going to be right there. He's 40. He's in the 40s in ball striking over the last 50 rounds within this field. That's some consistency that I like, and we're getting him at a dog price against a guy in Rodgers, 117th in ball striking over his last 50 rounds. He's going to have to get it done by making a bunch of bombs and getting up and down on a golf course where you're going to have to make a lot of birdies. I think you're going to find a winning score 18, 19 under here. So Rodgers, outside of gaining 9 strokes on the greens, which is kind of his game, but he's liable to lose strokes as well. I mean, he's lost strokes on the greens as much as he's gained throughout the last month and a half, 2 months. So I just don't see any consistency out of Rodgers' game right now, and we know Piercy's going to gain strokes on approach. So that's what I like out of this one. This was a weird one to me. I haven't seen anything from Rodgers to warrant him being a favorite over too many guys in this field, let alone an established veteran with a solid skill set like Piercy.
All right. And you know what, Andy? We were struggling with Hank Leboida's surname a while ago, so this is going to be a good one.
Kodaira, right?
Let me try this one. Satoshi Kodaira. Okay, that's.
I was going to say it's Lashley.
yeah. Neil Lashley got that one pretty easily. 1.85. This guy has been in pretty good form since he's come across the Atlantic. He's been really good. Or come across the Pacific. He went the other way. Sorry.
The other ocean. But I don't know if I've ever had a Satoshi Kodaira matchup. I'm not sure I've ever. I'm not even sure I've ever bet against. Like even outside of the show, anything I've ever done for years, I'm not sure I've ever bet for or against this guy. Another one, like I said earlier, just how I finagled my numbers. Putting shot up a little, and instantly I recognized that's why he's so high. He jumped way up the power rankings since putting went up a little. And it's fair, like if you look, he's gained like 16 strokes on the green in the last 3 tournaments. And to be fair, he did it on multiple putting surfaces. So 2 of those were Bermuda, 1 was bent. We're getting back to that this week. So if he can do that across multiple putting surfaces, I guess I'm fine with him. He's not like some specialist that just really killed it on like the Florida swing or something goofy. But again, 3 straight top 20s. But again, on the back of his putting, I don't expect this guy to top 20. I'm not betting him to win the tournament top 20. This is, these guys are 200-300 to 1 to win the tournament. This is the ultimate in this should be over on Friday. Like I just need him to play average. And again, once I spliced out the putting, I looked at the rest of his game. The rest of his game is average. Like it's tour average. It's decent. It's somewhere around the middle of the field. Hopefully, maybe right on that cut line, and Lashley gets on the other side of it. Really, I don't have a ton on Lashley right now. It was just he withdrew from the palm. His numbers are worse. Just across the board, I like Kodaira quite a bit better. The putting is really, cranking it up, making it look like if I went just full Kelly on this, I should be betting my house on Kodaira. But overall, his numbers are better. Nate Lashley withdrew from the Palmetto. I could not find a reason. I looked at 10 articles. They all just said unspecified. I don't know if he had an injury. I know he was carrying a wrist injury last year, but he hasn't played for a few weeks here. And again, when I was digging into Kodaira, he didn't make the cut at the Valspar. That was the one, but the second to last hole, if you go back and watch that, I remember that flop shot. He hit just the most beautiful, like it's the textbook. This is how you hit a flop shot and just watch it roll into the hole. He hit it, and then he needed one more birdie to make the cut. Didn't make it, but maybe that was his spark. And all of a sudden, he's a top 20 machine. So just need this guy to make the cut. Yeah, at 1.85, I like this quite a bit over Lashley.
JD, some follow-up on this.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on Kodaira, but, just because he was gaining putting, that's what, vaulted him into these 30s. Without those putting gains, he was actually losing strokes, but he was missing the cut right on the number, right? It was like a birdie here, a birdie there, and he's through, and we're probably looking at him differently, and maybe as someone who we could, we're looking at top 20s. And so that's that's a bet for me. I love that bet, actually. That'll be on my card for sure. Yeah,
like I said, average, just an average guy. Just need him to play average.
Hey, average or not, He's made 300,000, 300K in his last three
doing
restaurants.
okay.
Average. This guy ain't a traveling coach anymore.
No.
Not a bad gig.
Thank Tiger Woods for that one, Kodaira right there.
Yeah, there you go. Let's do a quick recap of what we have so far, guys. So James has DJ to beat Cantlay at 2.05. Andy has Cam Smith to beat Bob Watson 1.87. James has Fowler to beat Scott at 1.97. Poulter to beat Nat is Andy's next pick at 1.74. Rodgers Sloan to beat Bryce Garnett is JD's next pick at 1.95. Hank Leboida to beat Wyndham Clark at 1.81. That's Andy's next pick. Scott Piercy is to beat Patrick Rodgers, and we again surprised at this odds against price. That's JD's next pick at 2.03. And we just mentioned him there, the aforementioned Satoshi Kodaira to beat Nate Lashley at 1.85. All of these matchups available at matchbook.com. I think it's like 104 this week or something like that. So it's not too bad if you have time to actually get through them. If you have not got a Matchbook account, you do want to get involved. And this is going to cover you for the Euros, for probably the Open Championship as well, coming up the next couple of weeks. So you can get 0% commission on all sports for 30 days of the first 30 days of your account. Use the bonus code INSIGHTS to avail of that offer. Pretty decent one. You're generally getting the best price on the exchange anyway. But no, you're even getting the best price. The best price. The best price is the best price, and you're getting more or less that. I forgot it last week, guys, but best bets this week. Not going to forget it this week. It's in my notes. Andy, best bet of the lot of them, boy.
Oh, let's go Hank over Clark. I like this one quite a bit. Just, again, more of a Wyndham Clark fade, but right around minus 120. Not a terribly steep price to fade a big bomber at a short course, who I just don't like in general his golf game. So Hank Leboida over Wyndham Clark. What was it, 1.87-ish?
1.81. You're trying to steal
a few pennies there.
Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. I do that a lot. JD, what's your best bet this week then?
DJ plus 105. Since Cantlay's come on the tour, these two have played 47 times together. Cantlay has maintained a very high level of golf since the very beginning. Since his amateur days, he has never really been a bad player on tour. Dustin beats him 61% of the time, and he's a dog here, right? So now that's not like a true line by any means. That's not what I make it. That just kind of puts in perspective, why is Dustin a dog here? It's not like his game is deteriorating in any way. It's not like Cantlay is playing out of his mind in any way. So I just don't understand the dog price on DJ.
All right, like the case. Yep, he's a definite contender this week. The reigning champ. We're out of time. Best of luck with your bets this week. A lot of good angles there, I would suggest. And the guys' best bets last week, they came up, and I think they came up the week before as well. So keeping an eye on these guys. On the heater. Best bets. Best of luck, as I said, and we'll chat to you soon. Bye for now.